I grew up in a very toxic environment in the sense my parents divorced when I was one, and that was very abusive and toxic relationship my mom and dad were in. Constant battles, constant arguments, constant fights, constant police and abuse, domestic violence, and beating each other up. And they ended up divorcing, and my mom left the province and moved me and my sister. At the time, I had one sister, then she had a second daughter afterwards when she got remarried to Vancouver. I grew up in, some people know if you Google Campbell and Hastings downtown. And it's this strip, it's the most aggressive criminal activity, homeless, drugs that you can think of happening in Vancouver, BC. I grew up there, and I was part of like these latchkey programs, like Raycam and after school programs where they kind of took care of you. So they would pick you up from school and they would take you there, and you would like, they would take you for walks, go to field trips. It was all paid monthly for low income parents. So they'd pick you up, take care of you. They would have like food classes and cooking things and watch movies. And I kind of grew up like that. But I also saw a lot of things that kids shouldn't be seeing. Like we all did, you know, like all our parents were going through similar things, and deaths and problems and anger and rage. And but the thing with me is I grew up with migraine headaches. I grew up always with dreams, and I would have nightmares, and I had OCD. So when I grew up, I had this com- compulsive disorder where had a fear of death, and I thought that if I did not do these rituals, I would die because the nightmares would tell me, and I would have such intense, vivid, and lucid dreams where a lot of the times I felt I was in paralysis as well, and I could not move any time. Not just normal paralysis. I thought I was blind. So a lot of my dreams were that my eyes are squinting the whole time and I can't open it, and I'm trying to maneuver this entire dream, but I thought it was real, like my real life, and I could not open my eyes. I could not really see. Everything was like shadows, and I was trying to open my eyes, but I would always end up dying at the end. I would either fall off something or fall down to my death, but then I would wake up in my body sweating. And I would always have dreams. And this was when I was, I'm telling you, like grade one, grade two, grade three, grade four, grade five, like my whole childhood growing up. And I had a lot of dreams of creatures and people chasing me, trying to kill me. And I didn't know what it all meant back then. I didn't understand why it was happening. I used to have dreams of people's faces deformed and long, tall, stretched out people. I would hear echoing sounds where high pitch frequencies would disturb me, and I didn't know how to turn it off. Like my ears were gonna explode, and I would hear these subtle, soft, but loud voices in my dream that was so strange, like walking. You're outside of a building and you can hear the echoes and people speaking inside, but more in like a echo. And that's what my dreams felt like. Like you're trying to hear and listen, but you can't hear. So like I almost can't hear, right? And I would have fears of that, and I would have fear like dreams of my teeth and my gums hurting and my teeth breaking and falling out, and fear of like I would have no teeth and it would shake or it was wiggling and it felt like I would see like no teeth, and it would scare me. So I had dreams like this, but I also had like such severe panic attacks when I would wake up, anxiety, stress, depression at such an early age. I would wake up with migraines and I would turn my body around on the floor in my own vomit. I couldn't stop throwing up. I was always throwing up, and I would get picked up from school. My mom couldn't. She was always working 12 to 14, 16-hour shifts at work. She was a single mother raising two children at the time. And then later we had my younger sister as well. She was raising as well by herself. But we always had like a boyfriend. Like she always had like an uncle figure, right? Like where growing up, we would out of respect say uncle. We wouldn't, wasn't really an uncle, but we would say uncle. I wouldn't say dad because I had a dad, right? So it was, and I didn't call by name, so it was like uncle, right? So I had an uncle that raised me, who's like my father, and he started, taking care of me. He would make me breakfast, lunch, dinner, raise me very well, take care of me. But I got the narcissistic side and the toxic side from him, and my mom and dad, because I saw a lot of abuse and anger and frustration and jealousy from my mother, and abuse and toxicity and narcissistic behavior from my father as well. But this uncle would teach me to think negative and down on my mother. He would call her, you could blurt out like bitch, cunt, whore, slut. And I was just a little kid. And he'd be like, that's what she is, repeated after me. And he would pass me the basketball, tell me we're going to play basketball. So I would feel good doing it. He programmed me, groomed me, but I never looked down on him for it, because he would always make me breakfast, lunch, dinner, take me to play, take me for drives, treat me really well. But he would always look down on my sisters and my mom. And he was also a big time drug dealer. My mom would say, "Don't hang out too much with. He's a drug dealer." And I would see the deals and the drug deals happening on the streets and people showing up at the house, and he would take me to hotel rooms, and I didn't realize how big of a deal he was associating with the big people he was dealing with, like Hell's Angels and gang members and drug dealers. He was the dealer of the drug dealers. So drug dealers would come to him and get supply from him, and I didn't realize until I got a little older and he showed me how many pounds and pounds he would always have in the house and hidden in plain sight. But so when my mom couldn't pick me up from school, he would pick me up from school, or my cousin would ride his bike and put me on the back and double me home. And but I was like so always sick and traumatized, and on they would take me for CT scans and X-rays, and I would always go in that machine that vibrates like magnetic. I think that's the CT scan, and I was fearful and scared to be in that because it reminded me of my dreams. And they didn't know why I had such severe migraines and headaches. And, my mom would travel a lot because she had a lot of family back home in Fiji. We're from Fiji Island. So it's Fiji Islands, and it's like thousands of islands. But my mom had family on several different places, right? There's two main islands and then surrounding islands everywhere. But we would always go to Fiji when I was young as a kid. And I remember meeting my cousins for the first time, but they were all like, what do you call see, in our language, in our culture, have a word for it, but they were mischievous. They were ruckus. They were like vagabonds. They were like other terms like savages and like doing bad things, and they were creeps, and they were fun. They were all of the above, but they were into weird things. Like older cousins, I'm talking, they were already married when I was such a little kid, 5, 6, 7, 8. They were already getting married. Older cousins, but they showed me things like sex and drugs and molestation at such a young age, and they showed me things that they would do, and I saw them, and I witnessed my older cousin molest my younger sister through the peephole of the door, the old school. You put that big key in there and you pull it out, but you can the hole of the door is big. So I would look and I would see that, and other cousin would pull me away and take me and say, hang out with us. And the girls were real flirty and close with children too, and weird. But I never got molested by my girl cousins, but the guy cousins were weird, and they would show me that they would do things with aunties and nieces and cousins, their own cousin sisters, their own sisters. And I know it's negative, and I know it's not what everyone wants to hear, but that was a little bit of my background. And they got me into smoking marijuana and cigarettes and alcohol at that age. And so when I came back to Canada after the summer holidays, because most summer holidays I'm supposed to be with my dad for custody, so I would have to visit my dad, but it didn't start at that age. I think it started around 6, 7, 8 years old. I started having 50, not 50-50, but custody. Every school break, I would have to go to Calgary, Alberta to stay with my dad and my stepmom for 2.5, 3 months out of the year for the break. When I came back to Canada, I just had all this in my mind already. I knew it all, like videos, pornography. They used to call them blue movies, and my aunts would watch these movies, like these Fijian Indian movies of elders, like in the movie depicting that to like younger kids, and I'm like, what is this? Like that's the and my mind knew it all at such a young age. So when I came to Canada, I the way the attraction works is that I was embodied as that, because whenever I would see good high regard friends with school grades and everything, like they were my friends, but they weren't my real friends. Like they were my acquaintances. They were my friends, but it wasn't like this, because there's something different about me, right? So I had a lot of friends. I was very popular, but I would always wonder why everyone grouped up. Like there was tight besties and best friends, and they would do homework and study and hang out together. But I was around them, but never. It was not a daily, everyday thing like they were. And even I gravitated with different groups and affiliated with different cultures a lot. I was always very popular. And I was always going to different schools, so I was always the new kid around the block. So when I would join the schools, I was always 1, 2 to 6 months delayed, and I would meet everybody when they were already settled, and they're like, "Who's this kid? Right? Where's he from?" Because I was always all around, right? And they would see me dressed different because I'm from Vancouver, right? So I would come in a big puffy Michelin jacket hoodie with like a tank top underneath or a t-shirt, and it was summer, and I was in Calgary or Vancouver, and people would be like, who's this guy, right? Like nobody messed with me. They became friends with me like all the hardcore guys and girls, cliques and crews kind of involved me with them naturally. And I just got into it and I saw what they were doing. We were skip school. I saw that 15, 16-year-olds were drug dealers. So I started to see like, wow, this is not just school. Like there's a whole other world at this school, high school, right? Like junior high, high school. And then even in junior high, one of my good friends, Nadine, he was the supplier for all of the guys that and girls who wanted to smoke weed, marijuana. So we got into that kind of stuff. So I can go on and on and on about my story, right? But just to give you some ideas, I know just looking at your face, you're like, my audience is like throwing up right now. They probably don't want this right now. I understand. So that was my background, my lifestyle, and it was not impressive by any means, but I would always get voices and hear downloads and whispers. And I would never know what to do with it. And I didn't understand my spiritualness and my being and my light and my power. I knew there was power. I knew I was powerful. I knew I got what I wanted. I knew that I could associate with whoever. I knew there was something about me. Even my aunts and uncles would do certain things with their own kids that they would do with me. We could stay up late, watch movies, or, they knew that Malcom was different. He didn't have his parents influencing him. So like he can hang out with us. He can have a beer. He can have a drink. He could have this traditional drink that they drink together. Malcom could sit with us, or like, but it was different. Like there was something different about me, right? Unique. And I would dismiss these whispers. And at the time I didn't know how powerful it was, but it was powerful. For example, in high school, I was a smoker, and I couldn't really afford a pack of smoke every day, but I smoked a pack or two every day. I don't know how I afforded it, how it came into my life, how I was sustaining a lifestyle of all of this: drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. How? I was not working. How did I get everything, right? And I remember one day I just was sick of asking, hey, can I butt a smoke off you? Can I butt a smoke off you? Can I bum a smoke off you? Can I bum a smoke off you? I said to myself and to the universe, like at that time I didn't know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing, but it's different now. It's totally different now. Before I was doing it too, I remember. And I'm just like, I'm gonna get a pack of smokes. I'm gonna find a whole pack of smokes, and it's gonna be brand new. It's gonna be fresh. It's gonna be new. It's not gonna be wet. It's gonna be in a plastic, still brand new, like as if somebody placed it there for me. And I believed it, and I kept walking. And when you're walking on the streets and you're walking by schools and neighborhoods, there's packs of smokes back in those days everywhere. Like just they throw garbage everywhere. And I'm like, no, 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 that one's open, no, no. And I saw one like 30 minutes later, never giving up hope or will, or the belief or the conviction of myself, my higher self, the truth, the trust, didn't give up. And I saw something, and I went and I picked it up, and it was a brand new red packet of cigarette. And I opened up the plastic, and I'm like, I knew it. It was like that was mine to begin with. Like it was my confidence didn't say, oh my God. It was like, yeah, put it in my pocket, confident. And I was like, that was my miracle. But I did that with so many things, with certain what I wanted, and I anything that I wanted. But it was negative. And people don't understand, right? They think that because the universe and God will give you what you want and desire and what you hold to believe, it won't give you the alternative. It'll give you whispers like, are you sure about that? Do you want to live this life? Is that the path you want to go down? Like if you say I want a pack of cigarettes, it's not going to give you a packet of mints. I got the pack of cigarettes, right? So source is obedient to you, right? So yeah, eventually I got over those headaches early on, but I found out what it was. It was like trauma. I think trauma being in my mom's stomach, and trauma from life, being hit, being abused, being beat up from my parents, like hitting me, slapping me across the head, hitting me with spoons and rolling pins and metal spoons and hangers and belts and whips and plates and anything, right? And that's probably why, and the trauma of life, and not understanding what everything means, and just the toxicity created that in me. But the rituals of OCD again was certain turning on and off the light a certain period of time and looking around my room, and I had to jump into bed and then jump, or like my whole body level jump, and somehow get the blanket from under me over me. And if I didn't do it right the first time, I had to get up, turn on and off the light again. I had to look around, and I had to jump on the bed, jump up again, and then it added another thing and said, no, now you have to clap. So when I jump up my body to go under the blanket, then I had to do it again, and I had to clap underneath my body, and I had to clap on top of my body. And nobody knew this about me. And I had to do this, otherwise I thought I had those nightmares and it was gonna kill me, because all my dreams had to do with death. And it had to do with like fear and scarcity and doubt and worry. And I've never shared this on any podcast before, actually. But yeah, I had OCD, and I had anxiety and depression and fear growing up as a kid, and I still managed to live, and I had to take care of my little sister. I had to be the big brother. I was 3.5, 4 years older than her, because my mom was always at work for 16 hours, and I would come home, I would have the keys, I'd have to unlock the door, put her in the playpen, I would have to shower, I would have to bathe her, and because her dad would come around once in a while, because he was always kicked out of the house because he was an alcoholic, and he was toxic, and he was a drunk. Like, when I say drunk, I mean like a homeless drunk, like a very, very disgusting, toxic, fallen over, you could see it in his face, drunk. And that was my stepdad, but he was also a great cook, a chef, and he would cook for me, and he would take me for walks, but he was overprotective of my younger sisters. So he would, to bathe me, he would fill it up, and while he was drunk, with only hot water. And he would have a big kitchen knife, like the biggest kitchen knife, if I didn't get into the bathtub. And I knew how hot it was. Like, any child would burn, like their skin would go red, they would burn, like it felt like you're melting. But he would have me get into that water, and I would be crying, traumatized inch by inch, and he would finally push me down, and I would burn the inside of me, like my butt and everything would burn and melt. Like, it felt like I would melt. And that's how he bathed me. And when he would feed me, he would always feed me with a fork. And if I couldn't finish it, he would shove it all the way up my throat. And that's how he fed me, and that's how I would eat. And every night, when my mom would kick him out, or he would drink and he would not be welcome back, I would hear like gunshots in the back. We moved to Richmond. Richmond is a real bad gang-related area, and there was always gunshots and drive-bys and cars speeding, and I was taking care of my sister, and we'd have to go to sleep by like 9 o'clock, but I couldn't sleep till midnight, till my mom would come home and be like, "You're still awake? You have school at 6 o'clock. You have to wake up." And then I would go to sleep. And then that was my routine, that was my life. I just was like that. So if you can see that picture, and then the older I got, the worse things got. You know, it got like twice as worse, 4 times as worse, 10 times as worse. And if you thought rock bottom was rock bottom, you know, talking about schools, I've been to 8 schools, and I've had over 100 jobs. I've moved in and out of over 100 homes. Like I've never, you know what I mean? Like just the programming and the cycles and patterns and the karmas of that life. Um, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, you know, to not know their path, not know how to heal resentment, anger, rage and abuse, and you know, parents wishing death on you. And as that I got older, my spirit just kind of, I started to lose that confidence, that conviction, that trust. And even though I was an all-time sports star, I was number one in everything that I did. I just put my heart and soul into music and art, and I was really, really good. I played the clarinet. I used to play Titanic on the clarinet in grade 5. I was in band. I was so good at everything. And as I got older, I was the fastest in every school that I went to. I was in track and field, cross country. I was in sports, and I was MVP, MIP, most important person, most valuable player. I was VP. I was so many things, reward, gold, like medals. I was on my way to the pre-Olympics because they put me into, when you're in junior high and you're getting into it, then when you go to high school, you're in it, like you're in the juniors. I was in that at a younger age. They always put me 2 years ahead because my speed was as advanced as someone 2 years older than me. When I was in wrestling, I was always 2 years ahead. When I was in soccer, I was always 2 years ahead. And all my teams always won with having me on their team. I was not the tallest, not the strongest, I was not the fittest, but I'm telling you, I was the best. I was strong, and I was my heart, my power. And, you know, but as I got older and my parents got more toxic through their divorce and their marriages, again, new marriages, and I kept seeing this and deaths and in the family, and just them not wanting to keep me, and my parents using me as leverage, alienating and toxic. Like, go back to your father where you came from. My father, go back to your mother where you came from. And then go back to your dad, go back to your mom, go back to your dad, go back to your mom, go back to that asshole, go back to that bitch. And just my whole life became this yo-yo. You know, I was just tossed around, and I built so much resentment, and I just became a bad son, a bad kid. And as I got older too, and they just didn't want me, and they disowned me. And what else was I supposed to do? You know, and then I had a child when I was 17 years old, and they thought they could show up and convince me to abort the child and tell me what to do, what's right. And I'm like, what are you trying to tell me what to do, what's right in my head? And they're like, oh, you're just a kid. You're not even out of diapers yourself. And my dad spat on my face with my family. My mom took me back and said, you know, just come back to Vancouver. And I went through so much with that, and then separation. But the person I became at that age, at 17, was not a normal person. I was jealous. I was toxic. My jealousy came from my mom. being jealous that she always had a boyfriend or another man and not taking care of me and loving me. So when I saw that in a woman, I became jealous, and I was jealous and I was toxic. And then, I was abusive, and I was all of those things, all those labels. And and then my mom would say, I just wish you died. My dad would say, you know, you're gonna die a lonely man. And my family, my sisters would be like, you should die. You should have died. You should get hit by a bus, run over by a car. You should get in a car accident and die. And, just in my subconscious, I guess my mind and my body and my subconscious just overrode the whispers, and the whispers turned into, you should die, or you should commit suicide, or you should overdose on drugs, you should just go get crack, cocaine, mushrooms, ecstasy, and weed and alcohol and cigarettes, and just nothing's good enough. And the whispers were over clouded by my subconscious, my ego saying, yeah, maybe I will. I don't care. I should. And I would drink and drive, and I would be on so many substances all the time, and my friends or people I'd hang out with would throw up and vomit. They couldn't handle being my friend because I was just so much. Nothing was ever enough. I would live the night and day, 24 hours a day. Sometimes, and when I was addicted to crack and cocaine, I would be up for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row. And I wouldn't wash my face, shower. I got so bad and dragged down in life that I'm telling you, my spirit was leading me to an inevitable death. Because when I got older, I was 23 years old, it just became too much. I was not changing. Nothing was fixing, nothing was correcting. I wasn't listening, I wasn't programmed. I didn't know about personal growth. There was no personal growth. I just shared you my story. There was nothing. So one day I got everything that I wanted, and I was at someone's house, and there was drinks there were girls there was like hanging out, music, and I had my mushrooms, and they were providing me cocaine and drugs, and I had weed. Guys were outside, they were inside, and it was one of those fun nights that you think you're gonna have fun and hang out, and the next day you're gonna go home and go back to work and live your life. Not this night. This night was the day that I realized that we don't die, that I had awoken, it awoke me. And I was the one that was up, the one that got bored, the one that wasn't tired, the one that didn't have enough. Everyone was done. And I'm like, I'm gonna go. They're like, where are you going? It's like 3 a.m. I'm like, I'm like, I need more. Like, what else can I do? Where else can I go? Who else can I find? I was that person. And they said, don't go. Like, I'm like, just give me my keys. I'll go. I don't feel nothing. I'm fine. And that day I got into my SUV, Nissan Pathfinder, 1997, standard. And I get into that car and I reverse and I said, bye, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. See you tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow. They all thought they were going to see me tomorrow and talk to me tomorrow. All my friends, acquaintances. Because I say that because I'll say this afterwards. Remind me what I was going to say, okay? All the thousands of people I knew, thousands of friends I knew, out of all the cousins, all the acquaintances that everybody shows up in life and when you need them to hang out and drink and party, right? Everybody, right? All your people, Hey bro, hey Malcolm, yeah, anytime, any this, any that. So I'm driving around and I realize I'm driving in circles, like 100 miles an hour, because 100 kilometers an hour is not that fast. And I hit two cars, parked cars, and because I was going so fast, and I hit two parked cars and I banged my head on the window, blacked out, woke up, pressed on the gas again, and went straight up into a corner foundation of a brick home. And I ejected out of that vehicle head first, entirely out of my body. My knee broke on the steering wheel, and my entire waist, everything's out on the hood. And my head impacted the glass, broke the glass, and my body's out of the car. And I shot out of that car, ejected headfirst out of that vehicle. And my whole body was done, but at the same time, I felt alive. I felt awake. And I'm like, I'm awake. Like I can hear things and see everything, and oh, I'm alive. Like, oh, nothing happened. Like, you know? And I'm like trying to move my body and crawl out of the car and get my body out, but I couldn't. And I realized that what's going on here? I can hear phone calls, I can hear the people inside of the house, I can hear them talking, I can hear phone calls, I can hear everything, but not from my body. And I was like, why can I hear everything and see everything? And how is this possible? And then I didn't realize there yet, but I realized that I pulled and I dragged my body by coming back into my body to the passenger side, because by the time the ambulance came, the police investigators came, taking pictures, putting the thing around, I saw it all, but I was already in the ambulance halfway to the hospital, but my spirit was watching everything and then taking pictures of my body on the right side of the vehicle. And I was like, how did I see that? How did I know that? And why are they questioning who the driver was? I was the driver, but I'm not the driver, and my body's on the passenger side, and the battery is out of the car. My t-shirt is over the battery? What? So what happened? How did I do that? And the ambulance is taking me straight to the hospital, but I'm hovering and I'm able to view and see and hear them saying he's losing too much blood. You know, we can't save him. He's lost too much blood. You know, and they're rushing. And my body's swollen. I have shards of glass in my head, in my face, in the back of my neck, in my hands, in my arms. All of those scars, all of these are scars. I just have all that hair. And then I have this, you know, and that, you know, my main arteries, my tendons cut, bleeding, everything. This is from a different thing, but this is from my from the glass being from the car accident. And I had back of my shoulder, back of my neck, scars, my forehead. I had to heal so much. It was all in my head. I had brain surgery and everything for bleeding in my brain. But I ended up realizing that I can hear, I could see everything, and I can feel people's emotions and thoughts, and I can do that, and I can hear the news, I can hear like the papers, I can hear like what's gonna happen. It's in the news, what news channel, what newspaper. I knew it all. Like I can see everything. And when I got out of the hospital, yeah, I asked me these questions after how, because I walk into the building at work and they're reading the newspaper, but I saw the newspaper and I saw them printing it before. Nobody told me about me being on the news, me being on the newspaper. I already can hear the news. I can hear the everything before it happened. It's premonitions. It's like future existences, or it's just weird, right? It's like past, and I was able, and I'm going, and I'm like thinking to myself that, what are they saying? Why are they saying this? I'm right here. Like I can hear everything, I can see everything, I can think everything, I know everything. And I get to the hospital and I can, and I'm like looking at my family, but as a spirit, not my body. I was done. I was on life support for 3 days. So, but I'm like looking, I'm like, why are they looking at me like this? And they couldn't breathe. They couldn't talk. They like, cause I was swollen. Imagine you being ejected out of a vehicle head first in a front-on collision hitting a house, right? And so they have tubes in me and I'm swollen. I have my neck brace on and breathing stuff, and everyone's like shocked. And I can hear people coming in one by one, and I can hear them praying over me. I'm like, why are you praying over me? Thank you, but thank you, that's nice. But I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm gonna be alive. Like, why are you praying? Why are you wishing best for me, right? And I can hear prayer. I'm like, who else is praying for me? And I can travel and hear things in Fiji, Australia, New Zealand, America, everywhere, right? Wherever cousins and family cousins and aunts and uncles are calling, like, oh, we're at the hospital, Malcolm. We don't know if he's dead. Like I think he's dead. I think he died, or he's on life support. Like we don't know. We're waiting, right? And so, but at the same time, I realized that after, when I woke up, not one of my friends or acquaintances were there. Not one friend showed up and came. There was one person, one girl that I barely knew well, came for me, because I used to go for her whenever she'd go for her blood transfusions, and I would hang out with her as a friend. I would go with her, show up, like, where are you? She's like, I'm at the hospital. You want to come watch a movie, hang out? I'll go hang out with her. And I was that kind of guy. I friended people till this day. Part-time, I drive a handy bus. And for disability students, I drive them to school. I always became friends because I went to a school growing up for grade 1 and 2 um, for handicap and the hearing impaired. And so for a few years I went there and I learned sign language and I became friends with kids like that. But I realized that not one person was there for me. And that made me wonder, like, wow, that opened my eyes that this life that we run around for or struggle for, nobody's there. But my family was there, even though and I had resentment though. Even though they were the same ones that wished death on me, they didn't want me to live what they said, and all the things. I was like, why the F are they here? They didn't want me here. They wanted me dead. And now they're here? What two-faced kind of people are they? And I hated them. And so when people talk about light and the white light, I was looking around with judgment and curiosity as a spirit. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is the reality, eh? That you die and then they show up and then they pray. They pray for your body afterwards, right? they conduct a huge funeral and show up and everybody has to come, right? Anyways, so I ended up, they ended up having to decide to unplug me because I got back into my body to show people that I'm powerful. So I took off my neck brace, took out my tube, and I went like this, and I was sending signals to my mom, I need water, because my body was shutting down. I was getting so dehydrated. And my mom came and screamed, and she told the nurses, doctors, and they said, no, we can't give him liquids, we can't give him water. We, and she kept trying. They said, we can only give him ice chips. She said, yes, give me ice chips. I'll give him ice chips. I know my son, he needs it. So she started giving it to me, and I felt like relieved that my body isn't gonna die. And and then I got back out of my body, and I started going around looking at my cousins, because I'm like, what am I here for? What am I waiting around for? And they're eating burgers and sandwiches. I'm like, so everyone's just stuffing their face, eating, waiting to hear if I'm dead or not. you know? And some people are praying, and and I'm like, okay, well. So when my mom had to decide with other uncles and my dad, and they all huddled up, and then she's like, I'm just gonna decide to unplug him. Um, at that point is when I decided, with a gravitational decision, with a higher power source, that I should be leaving here now, this planet. And when I left this hospital room, I left my body. So suddenly I was close to my body, and then I left my body, and I can see my spirit, because I was my spirit, and I'm leaving. I am my spirit, sorry. And I'm leaving, and I'm floating, and I'm going above, or I was already going through walls and leaving, going everywhere, but this time I was just going up above. And I didn't do that before. I didn't decide to fly and be like Hancock or Superman or something, and be like, let me go fly. Because in my dreams, I used to always fly. I used to always be on houses and apart and fly to the next house, and I was always a spirit in my dreams. And this time I was a spirit again, doing the same thing. And and so I ended up like going up, and there was this huge vortex that just was ready for me, that I got into, like a, like a funnel, like a tornado, right? Just kind of takes you, and it took me, and I got captured by it, and it just took me, and I kept going faster and faster. But it was like, in the beginning, you're leaving this earth and this city and country and realm. It was lights, right? I could see I'm leaving, and then started going faster, and I'm like seeing lights and lights and lights, like almost like how fast I was driving, lights going by. But it was like, then I saw red and blue and clusters and this and that, and I'm like, well, where am I going? Where am I leaving? How fast is this? And I started going, and then I started realizing that this is much more than what I think it is. When is this going to end? Am I going to be stuck in this and just keep traveling for eternity? And it goes black, right? And it's all black, and I'm still going, and I'm seeing little spotlights and reds and blues and clusters, and it's all black. And I'm like feeling in limbo. Like, now it's gone so fast, but now it's like I feel I'm in this other realm. It's just black, and I'm floating around, and I don't know what to do. Like, when you're in a water park, or you're at a leisure center, and there's those slides, and you're going, and when it goes into the dark one, and you're like in that, like, it's dark and it's quiet, all of a sudden in limbo. It was like that. I was in black, and I worried, and I wondered, and I said, am I going to be stuck here forever? Is this what hell is? Is this what like the unknown is? Is this where I'm gonna be forever? And I heard a whisper, and it kind of was telepathic to me. Like I thought it was my voice. And sometimes I had to realize that it is me. It is consciousness. It is your source. It's all one. It is you. It is. And it was speaking to me. That's why it's guided intelligence is guiding my intelligence. It said, it is. You're supposed to be surrendering. You're supposed to be in the unknown and be okay with it. And it was hard for me to do for a very long time. Very, very difficult for me because I was going through anger, frustration, and my lifestyle. So I didn't know what it felt like to surrender. I didn't know what it meant to give up, or to give in to it. And I just said, okay, fine. I guess if this is what death is like, nothingness is like, then fine. My body, I left my body, then whatever. I'm dead. I'm gone. Then I just gave up. And right when I gave up, I see a white light enter, and I hear those voices again. And I'm like, what is going on? And I want to look inside, but I can't, and I can't see anything. It's just white blocking me out. And I hear voices like chanting, right? Like, and I'm like waiting to be welcomed in, waiting for my turn. It felt like I'm next. And I come in and I look, because I surrendered, and it said welcome, and I was welcomed in, and they were all there. Angels were all lined up, bowing down in surrender like this, and they were all translucent, tall angels. They were angelic, and they were angels. They were white and see-through and clear and translucent. And I felt that they were cousins and families and people, and and I didn't know who they were, but I knew who they were. It was like, yeah, that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my brother. But it was more than that. It was like they were my angels. That's what I am. I'm an angel, and they were an angel, and they were my brothers and sisters. It was like that. And then I look to the side and I see a big head, huger than all the angels. And they asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, it was telepathic, and I didn't say anything. And I'm like thinking, what do I want to do? I don't know. What do I want to do? I want to be here. This is beautiful. It's angelic. It's welcoming. It's compassion. It's love. It's peaceful. It's home. It's what happens when we're gone. That's what this is. But I look at my life review, and I look a panorama effect of every instance so fast, but it felt like so long, but it was so fast. And I saw like every experience, everything I've done, everyone who I used, gossip, disrespected, every manipulation, all my failures, all my wrongs, all my mistakes, all the things that's going to happen, everything that never happened, the choices I made. And I just like thought that I could do it again. I thought I could do it over. Oh my God, I'm here. It's not easy. And I'm like thinking, I'm like, I could do it again. I can redo it. I can live that life. Like, can I go back? It's so easy. But God didn't tell me. Angels didn't tell me, yeah, Malcolm, it's going to be easy. They didn't tell me that it was going to be hard. They didn't tell me that it's going to be hard. They didn't say that, well, when you go back to your body, You're gonna be crippled. You know that, right? You're gonna be paralysis, 75% on the right hemisphere of your body. You're gonna be limp. You're not gonna move your arms. You're gonna have brain damage. You're gonna have short-term memory loss. You're gonna have your lung collapsed. You're gonna have another surgery to deal with to drain out the blood out of your brain. You're gonna have a brachial plexus shoulder injury for a very long time. You're gonna have muscle tearage, nerve damage, torn muscle, torn ligaments. You're gonna be a spectacle when you go back. People are gonna gossip about you, talk about you. You're gonna be a black sheep. You're gonna doctors and people and police officers are gonna challenge you, and you're gonna challenge them back. And you're gonna change the status quo, and you're gonna do this and that, and you're gonna. I didn't know what my challenges were gonna be, and so God said, "Okay, you're welcome back." And I can't, understand, why, but I was welcomed back. The same way I came up is the same way I went down. And I entered my body, and I woke up when my mom unplugged me. About a couple minutes later. I say a couple minutes, but it's like, it felt like 15, but it felt fast, And I go upright and I look at my swollen knee. My leg was broken. They had to put 2 bolts in it and screws and stuff in there. And I said, "What the fuck happened to my leg?" My mom looked at me. She's like, "Oh, you're awake. Thank God. Like, thankfully, you should be grateful for your life." And I said, "What the fuck happened to my leg, man?" And I'm thinking, shut the hell up with that. Why are you here? Yeah, I was not angelic. I was not graceful. I was not like a blessing. I was a curse. And I was a burden. And I reminded my family of what I was. And they were like, "We have to deal with his bullshit now." Elevated. It was maximized. And I wanted to take everything that I knew and I saw. Instead of understanding forgiveness, I had to learn. So everything that I had to do in life was, I had to learn it. I had to learn about resentment. I had to learn where anger stems from. What is fluctuations? What is regulation? I didn't know nothing. I was uneducated. I was a dropout. I didn't tell you. Junior high. Did I mention high school? No. I dropped out of junior high. Grade 7. I entered grade 6 6 months late. I entered grade 5 6 months late. That was my educational background. So to go back to college and pass with high marks and 96 and 100, that was all through manifestation, through visualization. You got me stuck on that. That was through visualization, right? So I ended up like having to learn, but I was resentful. I said, "What are you doing here? You're the one that wanted me dead. You're the one that didn't want me." And I said, "Be quiet." And I was very disrespectful. And it was so hard for everybody. Can you imagine? They just were crying for my body, crying for me, and I'm being disrespectful to them. It's hard to imagine that, right? So that's what I was. I was a piece of shit. I was ungrateful. And it took me years to talk to my mom with love and respect, like understanding again, and say, "I love you," or, even till this day, we don't have like the conversations we did as a kid. We were very close up until junior high. She was my best friend. Every day calling me, I'd tell her about everything. Me and my mom used to hang out, go parties, and my older sister, the guy friends would come. My mom would flirt with them. They would flirt, but they knew she was just auntie. Nothing weird like that, but like my mom was outgoing, and like she was so chill, and she would allow me, my sister, to smoke, and she would say don't smoke, but she, we were junior high, like who's gonna stop us? I grew up in Vancouver, like I was a hard knock child, like I was a chameleon. Like I got along with even druggies and good people and elderly people. I had a character about me that I can go into any neighborhood. Plus, in my roles at work, I knock doors. Knocking doors is takes a character to do, right? And so that was what happened. But I had to learn how to live and relive. But I knew that I had that experience, but I didn't remember so vividly my my life review. I didn't remember vividly like everything. I only remembered that I was out of body, and if I could do that then, I could do it now. And if I can So it was telling me, like, you can heal. And nurses were saying, you're never going to heal this again the same way. You know that, right? My son, my child, like, it's a miracle you're alive. We've been in this ICU unit for years, decades. We've never seen a case like this. And the way like, you're lucky you're even here. Like, whatever injuries you have, they're not just going to heal. So they didn't see it as a miracle. They saw it as, okay, you're alive, you survived, but okay, but the broken leg though, it's not going to fix. But the paralysis, that's going to stay like that. So they just wanted to make themselves credit, like, as a nurse, as a doctor, as a professional, like, okay, so now we know what your injuries are. That's what it is. It's going to stay like that. And they had to diagnose me, and they had to give me all the pills and all that. And I'm like, no, it's healing. They said, you just woke up off life support. What are you talking about? It's healing. I said, no, my bones will heal. Just watch. I'll heal it in like 2 days. They said they hated me. They're like, they didn't want to be in the room with me because I would always negate and rebuttal them. And I started walking in 3 days. I healed my bones. I talked to my bones. I went into my spirit, went into my body, into my vessels, into my blood, into my nervous system, untwined all my nerves, my muscle tears slowly, eventually. Doctors couldn't do it. Physiotherapy couldn't do it. I had to go into my body, and I felt it untwining. I felt my bone fusing together. I was walking, and they said, don't walk, lay down. I said, but I have blood clots, right? They said, yeah. I said, blood clots will happen if I lay down, right? Yeah. Shouldn't I be walking? But you have a broken leg, you can't walk. I said, I can. Watch me. And I would walk. And they left the room. They left me to be Malcom. That's the guy I was. That's the guy I am. Confident, convinced, powerful. And but with a lot less on my shoulders, with a lot less of that anger and resentment, and that remembrance of wishing death and talking negative like that, and so I had to learn to overcome obstacles. And what were they? And I had to remember and recall a lot. And nurses would come and put the pressure, the heart rate pressure thing that squeezes your arm, and they would frustrate me with doubt and say all these things to me, and I was like so upset and mad at them that I wanted to scare them. So I raised the blood pressure monitor past 290, 300, and they got so scared. They said, relax, breathe, calm down, they thought I was gonna die. I was laughing inside. I'm like, just chill, watch. And I just changed my emotion, and it went all the way back down. And I knew how to do that. And I know how to do that. And, circumstances come where you're not in control of and you don't want to do certain things. But when shit hits the fan and we have to beg or struggle for a life, then we end up begging and praying and wishing and doing all the work, right? But we got to remember, we got to be consistent, we got to do the work, we got to do these things. It's a lot of work. So as the years went on, I actually learned that I can do remote viewing. I could premonize, I can visualize, I can manifest, I could quantify, I could quantum jump, quantum leap without knowing who's teaching it, who's doing it. I was doing it prior to the learning, prior to the books, prior to the podcast, prior to anything. I was already doing it myself. And I realized that I can lucid dream. I can vividly dream. I can be aware and awake and allow my dreams to occur. So I wanted to live my dreams again. So when the dreams would happen, or the dreams would have, I would go back into these dreams. So I would revise the dreams, I would remember the dreams, I would bring them back into existence. Nightmares, hellish nightmares, demons, I would bring back into my dreams. The ones that were banging in a closet, in an attic, that were shaking the house, that you would never want to enter, I would slowly, eventually, take me weeks and months to go out. The fear, trust me, it didn't take a week. It took weeks for me to open the door where the demon was and confront the demon that was going to kill me. And seeing my cousins in dreams that died, my grandfather that never wanted to look at me in a dream, I wanted to fulfill that prophecy, that dream. Like, why is my grandfather not looking at me? He's very disappointed in me in life. My cousin, he's just hanging out with me. Why are we just hanging out? There's a purpose to me dreaming him. So let me hang out with him differently. Let me guide him. Let me teach him to heal. Let me tell him that he needed to heal. He needs to come back to his family. He needs to show that he's alive. So for months, I changed my cousin's death to me just having a dream about him, to us being involved with the family in my dream. So we would have family gatherings, dinners, and I was so happy that my cousin was alive for months, hanging out with the family. And but I would always, like, I knew it was gonna last forever. So I'd always have this sadness in me that he was gonna die no matter what. But they didn't know that. It was short lived, right? And nightmares of like killings, murders. Like, there was like these bodies that were dying and that I was involved in, and throwing them in a big bin dumpster, like a huge construction one, and throwing, raking, pretending that I'm raking in the grass and trees, branches, covering it all in garbage bags, and no one's gonna see it. But then I would have to get confronted. So dealing with confrontation in a different way, being confronted, being the fraudulent person, and also like dreams of, you know, wanting to, just so many dreams that I'd have to bring back to life and conquer and overcome my fears. Going into like a huge above the sky water park that's slippery metal and not falling off, having to have the fear to overcome the challenge to do it instead of falling off. Or like, like opening my eyes when the whole dream I was squinting. What was that about? How can I open my eyes finally? Trust, I had to do with trust. All the dreams had a meaning, and I had to forgive the devil, the demon. So when I entered it, went away and I had to find it, and it was in this room, and it created a vortex, and it spun everything and sucked everything, and there was this ritualistic thing where all these demons were there, and I had to create this bravery in me to be there. I made it to that part of the dream. I never made it that far in the past. So I broke free of the first level. It went to the second level and the other level, and finally, but not in the one dream. It took months to keep recreating that dream, to finally embrace that demon and walk up to it and hold it. Out of fear, I was scared. But then it turned into a normal person, and everything just vanished and it disappeared. And it needed that love, that gratitude, or that letting go. It needed to be let go. It was stuck here, haunting me. And then it never came back. I never had that dream again. And all these things that I had to overcome, like drug addiction. After my car accident, I was still an addict. I was still a chronic smoker. And I had to face it. I had to catch pneumonia. I caught pneumonia 7 times before I quit smoking cigarettes. I put myself in the hospital so many times. Jail, getting involved with police officers, the disrespect, the confrontation. Oh, challenge me. They would call 7, 8, 9 police officers holding me down. I had to change that perspective and reality, so I would start to obey and respect and be like, yes, sir. You know what? You're a different officer. You're very nice. I had to fool him with love and kindness. Instead of him judging me in advance, I had to judge him with love in advance. So he wouldn't look down on me and judge me based on my scars and my face and my features. I would say, hey, sir, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong. So manipulation, positive manipulation, the power of persuading. I had to learn all of this. I had to do it. Breaking cycles, going to court instead of them looking down at your criminal record and judging your entire life. I had to go into him out of body, go to the judge and be like, you're going to look at me good. You're going to forgive me. You're going to respect me. Even the officers are going to respect me. I'm going to walk in here with a smile, and that's what you're going to judge. You're not going to judge me based on the criminal activities I've done in my life. And so that would happen. And I would break free of the cycles of going to jail and hanging out with my guy friends, going to the club and fighting with bouncers and them taking me to jail and banging on my door and saying, oh, you fled, you assaulted, you got an assault charge and you're under arrest. Why did you do that at the club? And I had to go to jail. I had to do all that stuff. And then I had to realize, like, they had a track record of me that were 2-3 pages long. I had over 20 records on my sheet. And so when I got busted for jaywalking, they took me to jail. And they used so I had a criminal record. I had 7 assault charges. I had 7 non-appearance charges. I had ticket charges. I had so much on my records that I had to wipe clean, and I did. And I wiped everything clean. My criminal record, everything, my whole thing, my life, all of this stuff. We can be on another podcast just kind of expressing everything, but it's been a challenge to get a thought, change the thought, and get the thought before it came to me and catch the thought in outer space. I teach people how to do that. Don't wait for the thought to come to you because it's too late. We don't have the ability to revise it. That we do, I do, we can, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people they're susceptible to their own thoughts. So I teach them in my curriculum how you can capture it and change it before it enters. And so like all these things, like I had to do all the work, all the work. A lot of people want it easy. They think, oh, an NDEer, I can get help from him and he'll help me change in one day. He healed, so he'll help me heal right now. But I get to find out who's a narcissist. I get to find out who's demonic. I get to find out, because when you challenge them, their innerness comes out. And when they don't hear what they want to hear, you get to find that out and you get to see it. And I'm a different type of a mindset coach, healer, therapist. I help people do the work, and I'm here, I got their back, but they gotta be ready to do the work. It's not one and done, shabam type of thing. It's like a journey. If you're ready to heal, ready to change, prove it. Let's do the work. Take accountability. It's a curriculum. It's like a university. It's like schoolwork. Come with a pen, come with the journal, and come ready to go, and we'll do it together. Everything. That's what I do. And it's one like this. It's not a push and play. Like a lot of these people out there, they have a discourse. I don't have a discourse. It's energy with energy healing. It's a process for someone with addiction to get to a level to change their thoughts. It's not like someone with addiction is ready to learn that. Because if I teach someone with addiction that, they're not going to do it. It's a process of elimination first. It's a process of healing. It's a process of actualizing. It's a process of epiphany moments. It's coaching, consistency, daily rituals, how you sleep, how you're gonna sleep, how you're gonna think, how you're gonna wake up, how you're gonna change your thoughts when you wake up. It's the frequencies, the vibrations, it's the calling, the commanding, the demanding, the intentional directions. And then when you get to that point, then absolutely you can challenge the thoughts and be like, but in the beginning, it's going to be a challenge to just jump right to that. But you need to start to recognize what are thoughts. What are thoughts? We don't have thoughts. We never had thoughts when we were born, right? So they're coming to us. They're coming not from us, they're coming to us. They come from us only after we've accumulated so much. But they're coming to us. They can come to us from radio waves, frequencies, microwaves, food. They can come to us from the damage of animals. They can come to us from so many different ways. And if we don't get strong enough to allow it to dissipate or disengage from it, then we're susceptible. We can get thoughts from the Navy, from our Army. If the Army wanted to target this country, they can send thought waves. There's certain light frequencies, the blue bulbs that they're putting, they're changing the bulbs of the street lights. There's Wi-Fi, 6G can now see things without a camera. Like so many things can infiltrate our mind. But when we don't know, we don't know. So we need a lot of research. So if you bring someone with addiction, what level are they at? They're not at a level, right? So you need to get to a level to comprehend those other levels. So you can't just teach somebody from a clean slate, change your thoughts, affirmations. They're programmed. They need to work. We need to do boot camp. We need to do different things. We need to focus on other things. We need to keep working around other areas. And sometimes I work on other areas and so many other things heal. People think they want to work on anger, but then a lot of other cycles and patterns unleash for them, and they open so many other doors. They will come to me and be like, Malcolm, this stopped happening, that stopped happening, this stopped happening, because you're working with me on this area. Or we work on another area and then other things happen, right? So it's always like that, right? People want that type of answer. Like, what can you say? Or what ritual can I say? Or what affirmation can I say to get to this point of healing? it doesn't work that way, because it's like you're blocking, or you're suppressing everything else, and you're just working on an area. It's like a mind body spirit connection. You can't just heal your brain without your gut. You can't just heal your gut and not your brain. You can't just think you're healing your brain but still eating junk food. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much to it. Yeah, we can jump timelines. Like when Kobe Bryant died, I got a huge download, a huge message before. And I was like wondering, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, what's happening? You have to listen to that. You have to talk with it, communicate, be like, okay, it is something. Something big is coming. Yeah, really? How big? Big, big, or medium big? It's large. You can communicate with it. And I'm like, oh my God, on what scope? International? Like worldwide. It's devastating. And I'm like, what is this going to be? An earthquake? What's going on? And then I just let it go. And then a few days later, it was on the news. Kobe Bryant died. Yeah. So like, and even if you get a thought, even if you get like a thought, you can change that thought. You can even create thoughts. You can, right now, you can put thoughts out into the universe. You can just put them out there. We're doing it all the time. Like, oh, my hair sucks today. My hair sucks today. Why are you putting that out there? We could say, thoughts like, oh man, the barber that's going to cut my hair next is going to do something amazing. I know it. And then just let it go. Let thoughts go into the universe and just trust that it's been received. Or thoughts can come. You can think a thought like, say, oh, my mom, this happened with my mom, but you could change that and be like, no, what's happening with my mom now? She's healing herself, she's changing her health, and she's gonna give me a phone call one day and I'm gonna hear about it, and then let it go. And then a year later, my mom called me and be like, I cut bread, I don't do milk anymore, I cook from home natural. And I'm like, I don't take the credit. I don't say, Mom, I did that, right? I'll just be like, wow, good job. That's good, great. How come you weren't listening to me before for 10 years? I was telling you. I don't do that anymore, but I was like that, and it doesn't work. I couldn't change people like that. But now I just put thoughts out there. When it happens, it doesn't faze me. I'm not interested anymore. I just know what I'm doing, you know? They can find me searching guided intelligence or Malcolm Nairn, and you can research my testimonials, read them on Google, and you can watch them on YouTube. And if you're ready, you're ready. And I'm not here to convince anybody to be ready. You just know, and you're ready to go, and trust in yourself and the journey. I have a children's self-help book on Amazon called Arnav's Affirmations. Please, you could buy that to support me. It's very cheap. But you could book a consultation with me. I can give a discount for you watching this interview. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to you putting in the time and the investment, so I can put in the time and investment and energy into you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing back from anybody.